Alrighty. Perfect. Okay, so welcome everybody to the No Borders Rotaract meeting. We've got a couple people on the call today. We record these meetings so that way everybody can view them after we end the meeting. We close it out and upload all of our meetings to YouTube so anybody can view it from anywhere in the world. Today we've got a special guest, Stephanie Woollard from Australia. She's with us from 7 Women organization. So I will start off by playing the video from their website on their new documentary that came out in 2015, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I'm gonna X out my video so that we don't see that, and move this to the side so you can see a little bit better. Is that better? Can you guys hear anything?
The moment that we are born as a woman, we are treated differently. After we grow up 13 years, 14 years, our parents start to look for guys to marry. And even we are not ready for marriage, we are still forced to do that. In our society, women are always dominated by men. Women are tortured, women are beaten by husbands. They are sold in India. Women are scared to talk. They are speechless. They are wordless. A lot of horrible things happen.
हुन्छ म यस्तो गर्दिनँ भनेर पहिला त त्यसो भने पछि अर्कोसँग लागिसिकेँ त यस्तो लङ्गडी त उस्तो लङ्गडी भन्ने छुट्टै पिट्ने गर्न थाल्यो अनि अर्को लिएर हिँडे.
In our Hindu culture, our society, the people believe that whoever is disabled person must have done something bad karma in their past life. It's already difficult to being in this society, being woman and disabled. It is very difficult. Society doesn't want them, and the family doesn't want them. They are totally forgotten.
अस्तिले के भयो भने एकचोटि अब के गरे भने यसो मार्क्स गरेको थियो यो यस्तो भनेर कसैले भन्यो खराबसित भन्दा नि है तेरो मुख के भएको भनेर कसैले त्यसले गरेको मलाई त्यतिखेर म यति रोएँ त्यहाँ बोल्ने मान्छे कोही पनि थिएन त्यस्तो समय भएको छ मलाई.
At 7 Women, our whole purpose of existence is to empower women.
We want to educate the women, and then we want to give them skill training, and then we want to give them employment.
देखाएर नै गर्छु र उसको घरतिर यस्तो अपखालले राख्ने यस्तो भन्छ पुलले छोडे पनि सबैले गरेर खालिरहेछ भनेर गर्छु भनेर गरेँ. अनि मेरो काम भनेको अब हप्तामा 7 दिन हुन्छ. हप्तामा जस्तो सानो अक्षर भयो भने आफ्नो नाम मात्र लेख्न सक्दैन धेरै खुसी लाग्छ कि अरूले सिक्नु पाउँछ अरूले सिक्नुपर्छ भन्ने त त्यसमा हुँदैन.
It's like a ripple effect in the community because every single woman wants to give back and wants to help other women.
We want to expand our work in a rural area because we will find the most needy women to help.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, can you guys still hear me? All good? Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you take it away, Stephanie.
Cool. So can I just have a really quick introduction of whoever's here and what their kind of profession is, so I know to talk to that?
Sure. I'll kick us off. My name's Patty McKenzie. I work with a charity called Rise Against Hunger. We do international hunger relief.
Awesome.
I'm Matthew. I work, for myself, doing data and technology management, primarily in telemedicine right now.
I'm Steven. I am in Oregon, and I work for a small community bank.
Awesome.
I'll announce Elaine. Elaine's on the line as well. She's in agricultural research, and she's currently in school in Oregon State University.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Nice to meet you guys. That's the first time we've played the trailer over a webinar thing. So, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. So I think I might just talk through 7 women for kind of 10 to 15 minutes, and happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. I think that'll probably be the best format. Is that fine for everyone?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. So I'm not sure if you've had any background, but so 7 Women is a humanitarian aid organisation, but also with a massive focus on empowering disabled and marginalised women in Nepal. So it began 12 years ago now, when I was in Kathmandu after high school, and was leading groups of architects from Melbourne to Nepal with an organisation called Duke of Edinburgh. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of it. And when I was kind of finished that trip, I stayed on for a few weeks in Kathmandu and I was walking down the back streets of Kathmandu and came across a disabled woman who was walking in front of me, and wondered where she was heading to. So followed her into this tiny tin shed, and there were 7 disabled women living there. And luckily one of them spoke broken English, Sangita, and I was asking her what the mattresses were doing lying up against the corrugated iron, and she said, "We live here because we're physically disabled, and in Nepal that means that we were evil in a past life." So these women were kind of all huddled into this tiny space that was quite dirty, and they were trying to make candles and soaps to sell in the local market, but because of their physical appearance were unable to be successful in their sales. So I had about 200 Australian dollars left. I was 22, and I had no idea kind of what to do or how to help these women, but knew that it'd be great to kind of raise money to build a proper place for them to live, so they could feel, confident and proud of themselves. Because I thought, how can they have a good self-esteem when they're living in this kind of squalor? So what we did, we decided to spend that $200 on 2 Nepalese trainers that came to train them in a skill. And then we had to think about, what skill would make sense and what raw materials were readily available in the local market for them to be able to re-access. And that was wool. That was actually, it's a big wholesale market in Nepal that's wool that's imported from Australia and New Zealand. So we thought the women can learn how to do knitting products, and I can help them by bringing them back to Australia and finding a bit of a market to sell them and raise the initial bit of money. So that was a lot harder than I imagined in the beginning. It was, I thought it would be easy. The women would just make products and I would sell them, make a bit of money, and slowly we would build a proper facility for them to work and live in. But when I got the products back to Australia, it was really hard to sell them. Nobody found them as attractive as I did. So there was a hot pink poncho and fluorescent yellow knitted bags and children's toys of different animals that didn't look like those animals. And so I had a bit of a market stall at my place, invited my family, friends, and whoever wanted to come around to the parents' lounge room. And we had, I told the story of these women and what we were wanting to sell the products for, and everyone said, I'm happy to donate money but keep the products, kind of thing. So I thought, okay, maybe these products aren't working very well for the Australian market. So we had the initial bit of donations, and I still thought I'll give the products another crack and I'll take them to my university and have a market stall there. So I recruited my first 2 volunteers, Dale and Jono, who stood with me on this tiny market stall, and again, stood there all day, didn't sell any products. So at that point we had to think, all right, this is not working. What products can we sell that will be attractive to the market and also support the women in making more orders for them to produce more products. So then I did a bit of Googling and research, very basic on, online, and found these hand puppets that I thought, oh, they're pretty cute, they might sell. So women started to make these puppets, and then we started selling the products in Australia. And as it took about probably 4 or 5 years before the women were actually, it was set up as a proper manufacturing business with systems and processes. And by that stage, we had probably 200-300 women that were working, producing these products, and I was working very hard to find a market here to sell to, not only retail but also wholesale. So wholesale to existing shops that were selling handicrafts. And so that's kind of how we progressed, very slowly on the first kind of 4 to 5 years, and then it was still, to me, not a sustainable thing to be setting up, because it was really relying on us to sell the products here in Australia. And if I got sick of selling a product, I was never really passionate about the products. It was just always a means to providing these women with an income and helping lift them out of poverty. So I was trying to think of an idea of how we could develop a local income stream in Nepal. And it was our country director, Anita, who you saw in the short video, who said, well, why don't we do like cooking classes? I love cooking, and the women can maybe teach cooking classes to visitors, because there's a lot of, huge tourism in Nepal. So a lot of different tourists every year. I think there's close to 1 million tourists every year in Nepal. And so we started doing cooking classes, and so partnered with the main tour companies that now bring people every day to do cooking classes. We get probably around 50 to 100 people every day. So it's a huge amount of local income that we built up. And they pay for a cooking class, about $50 American, and that funds a woman in hospitality training. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Yeah, so that's basically what we do today. That's our model. We do manufacturing and the hospitality training, but we do a lot on the side of that. So we support women to start their own micro businesses. We fund literacy training in remote village areas. So we work in 6 villages currently, and in those locations it's extremely poor, and a lot of kids don't get sent to school because their families don't have the money to pay for the basic school books, which only costs kind of about $20 a year. And also they don't have money to pay for school uniforms, and over there in Nepal they pride themselves on school uniforms. So a lot of children are missing out on that basic education at a young age, and that continues the cycle of poverty, because they're then working in the farms with their family, and by the time they grow up, it's harder to put them in school. So we've started these literacy programs in the villages, which were very challenging in the beginning. We had a lot of pushback from the community. So a lot of the husbands were threatening their wives not to attend literacy classes because they were worried that they wouldn't get time to do all their farm work that day. They normally wake up very early to prepare breakfast and then do their farm work, and then do the cooking and cleaning at night time as well. So we actually had a few of the husbands waiting for their wives when they left the first literacy class, and they spat on their faces and threatened that that they'd cut them with the cookery knives and all that sort of stuff. So that was really difficult for us as an organisation to really kind of step back and think, okay, we don't want to create, we don't want to put the women in a situation of danger, although they were really keen to learn. And so we asked them, are you interested to continue, or what do you want to do? And they said, yeah, definitely, we want to continue these classes. So we put a few measures in place to kind of protect these women while we started doing literacy, because statistics prove that when women are being empowered domestic violence can increase before it decreases. So yeah, a few months on from that, we saw a lot happening in the village. The women had the literacy classes as an opportunity for them to get together and create a mothers group for the village. So they started to discuss what's not working and what they want to change in the village, and came together in a big group to basically confront the local government. So they all went to meet the local government to ask for funds that they'd never seen before that were allocated for their village. And that was really through that education and feeling like they're in a group and that they can do something together. You know, like Rotary groups and things like that. You come together in a group of people with different skills and learnings, and you can feel like more is possible. So we've seen huge things being achieved now in these villages. Domestic violence levels have decreased. Migration abroad has decreased because people are earning money in the village and they no longer need to go and seek for income elsewhere. And yeah, also, you know, we've seen the women's groups bringing a lot of changes into the community, like building new roads and things like that with the money that they have received from the local government. The men's attitudes have definitely improved. So after the earthquake happened in 2015, that was probably a year after we started our literacy programs, and the men in the community basically stepped up and said, we'd like to rebuild the facility because we've seen the change that this has brought into the community. So this year we've launched a 7 Scholarships Fund. So the idea behind that is we've got 200 kids that we've identified that are in that kind of zone of not being able to have an education if they're not sponsored, that come from extremely poor families. So it costs $150 a year to send a kid to school, and the 7 scholarships are, you know, $1,050 for 7 kids. So we're asking clubs and different community groups to take on a 7 scholarships so they can raise money to fund 7 kids to go to school, because yeah, we can't achieve that alone. We need to share the load a little bit and have different people help us fundraise for that particular program. The other programs that we're working really hard to fundraise for and achieve are our Eco Farmhouse. So we want to build this Eco Farmhouse in one of the villages, and Elaine, this probably relates to what you're studying, the agricultural research. We want that to be a big part of this Eco Farmhouse. So in these villages, there's probably 3,000-4,000 people that live here, and they do farming, and they're really eager to learn how they can better use their land, because there's a lot of room for improvement. And in the months where they don't yield from the land, the food security is not working that well, apart from, you know, drying corn and eating dried corn. So they want to really diversify what they're growing. So the idea behind the Eco Farmhouse is to work with the locals to set this thing up, like a very basic structure that will be a community hub, and then in future bring groups of tourists to the homestay to learn from the locals about sustainable farming. So that's one project, and the next project is an eco hotel. So really small scale hotel in Kathmandu with about 12 to 15 rooms that tour companies that come to our cooking classes can stay in, and it can be a training ground for disabled and marginalised women to learn things like, you know, cooking, cleaning, customer service, all of those sorts of things at a hotel would be a great facility for. So that's kind of a bit of an overview of 7 Women. It's been going for 12 years now, and we've got probably about 50 volunteers at any one time that help with marketing, admin, finance, and logistics, and sales. So that's how we've been kind of working for the last 12 years, and that's our future vision. So all to do with economic empowerment for marginalised women in Nepal, because Nepal's a patriarchal society, and I'm sure some of you have visited developing countries where it's just, you know, in Australia we haven't achieved gender equality, and nowhere in the world has yet, but in places like Nepal it's very extreme. So women are really treated as second-class citizens and suffer a lot because of it. So we're focused on educating and empowering women and bringing men along for the journey as well. We do training workshops for the men, where they can learn skills and where we can create a bit of dialogue around what's not working in their villages. So I'll end it there, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I've probably got about another 15, 20 minutes of questions before I have to hop off the call.
So Stephanie, this is Stephen. I have a question about the eco farms. What agriculture is the people were they currently doing, and then what would the eco farm kind of replace, or what kind of crops would be there?
Yeah, so that answer is kind of, it's different in each village that we work in because they're in different locations, and in Nepal, different places are known for different things. So, you know, the mandarins and mandarin season come from the northwest, and the different kind of products come from different places. So, in the villages that we're looking to do, we haven't made a location yet. We're still looking for a great opportunity where we can buy land and start the Eco Farmhouse plan. So it'll really depend on the location. But we're looking to help with things like setting up the farmers, especially the poor farmers in that community that work on other people's land and don't have their own land. We're looking to include them in whatever we plan to have a plot of their own land where they can yield their own stuff and earn their own money. So yeah, so I don't have an answer for that. It depends really on where we find the land and what opportunities exist in that particular village.
Okay, thank you.
But what they normally do grow, you know, in every village are the basics, so spinach, potatoes, garlic, ginger, all that sort of stuff. Their basic meals are curry and rice. So and then, you know, the richer families eat more meat, so they have like, you know, chicken and goat, whereas the poor ones just stick to the kind of spinach and potato and rice.
Okay.
Stephanie, it's Jeremy from Sydney. I was super keen to learn a bit more from Italy at the moment. I was keen to get a bit of an insight from you as to how you drive demand into the cooking classes and how you're looking to drive demand into your hotel and your partnerships with tour operators and things like that.
So can you just repeat the first bit? I missed the key question.
Sorry, I'm interested in how you form the relationships with the tour operators, or how you drive demand into the cooking classes and into, you know, potentially hotel, eco stay, that kind of thing. Yeah,
I think with that sort of stuff, it's just being really clear on what we offer. So we get a lot of emails from the website saying, I'm really passionate about, so for example, art, and I want to come to the centre and give a workshop to the women in art, I'm keen to volunteer or do an internship in Nepal with 7 women, and a lot of different inquiries of people. So if we responded to all of those different inquiries individually, it would take a lot of our time and create, you know, different internships based on people's interest. It would kind of take us away from the mission a little bit. So it's just really about being, anyone that does an inquiry, we say, welcome to visit our centre. We can organise a trip at a time that suits you. And this is what we have on offer: a cooking class, a craft class. So the women teach craft and along with that teach fair trade. And they get to meet the producers and work alongside with them to create products, or a basic Nepali literacy class for tourists. So it's been very reactive. So tour companies have heard about us and come to us, but we're looking to now be quite proactive in, now that we're all set up, because you have to have the systems in place first, go out there and get more on board. So we've just finished our cooking school out the back, which is a much bigger facility. We only had a tiny kitchen upstairs. So now that we've finished our cooking school, we've got capacity to take 30 people at a time. Did that answer your question, Jeremy? And then how we
awesome.
How we funnel those people from the cooking school into, say, for example, the Eco Farmhouse trip or the hotel, is just basically when people visit the centre, they're inspired, they're wanting to support, then it's just a matter of our country director Anita saying we've also got these options if you're interested to have a village experience. Do you want to visit our Eco Farmhouse, and then share the other opportunities.
Cool, thank you.
This is Patty. I've got a question around the products that you guys make. What kinds of things? I know you mentioned that at the beginning you were having a hard time figuring out, what people want to buy. So I was curious, what products are you guys making now, and how do you find? Is it through your volunteer network that you find connections to stores and things to sell them through?
Yeah, so it's actually been a bit dependent on who comes on the tours and what skills they have. And there's a part of the tour, we do these 10-day cultural immersions, and there's 2 or 3 days as part of those immersions as a skill sharing and capacity building at the Seven Women Centre. So it's really been those people that have come on the tours that have a passion for creating products, or sewing and product design, that have added to the range over the years. So we just build, we just, once they train the women when they're in Nepal, we put the product in our shop, which is in Kathmandu at the centre, and then we kind of judge, is it popular, are people buying it or not? So we do a run of about 10-15 pieces and see how long that takes to sell. But yeah, we've developed it based on just I've got a bit more of an idea of what sells here, and scarves and things like that, simple products that a lot of people buy. We've done that, and then children's toys and things, kind of matched up what skills do the women have, and what are basic enough products that won't take too long to train the women, because that's also a waste of time to do a product that's too detailed for the women to learn, and then for it not to sell. It's a business risk and wastes a lot of time. So we've kept them quite simple and safe. So scarves, for example, a lot of people buy scarves, and we sourced this amazing silk, recycled sari silk. So that's what the women make the scarves out of. So yeah, the range now is kind of accessories. We do silk sari, gowns, scarves, children's toys. What else do we do? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Women's accessories and some children's toys.
Cool.
And the books. So the books, I wrote the book last year, From a Tin Shed to the United Nations. So yeah, I can put the Amazon link if you want on here if anyone's interested. But that's been a great seller. So we've kind of, all my speaking engagements, I take along the book afterwards in the scarves to fundraise. So that's been a great resource, and as well as our documentary. A lot of people like to get the documentary to host screenings in their communities. So documentary is about a 15-minute documentary, and I'm happy to actually, if you want to see it, if you're interested, you guys, I can send you the link and the password online to Vimeo to see. It's a 50-minute documentary about education and the power of education.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. We actually sent it out to our club members last year after I actually saw you speaking at the Rotaract Australia conference. So you did send that over, and so some of our members have watched it already, but I'll make sure everybody on the call is able to get it as well.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks. It's great that we finally found a time, Patricia, to talk. We've been trying to coordinate Skype time for a long time. Yeah. And I just wanted to ask, also, I remember we spoke after I spoke in Sydney at the Rotaract conference, and we're talking about the organisation you work for.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put again, Rise for Hunger, is it? No, Rise Against Hunger. Yeah, we're talking about a potential opportunity there in a travel agency that might be interested in selling the tours.
Yeah, definitely. We'll connect on that for sure.
It'd be great to follow that up too. Yeah. Yeah, are there any other questions?
Stephanie, this is Stephen again. What have other clubs done to fundraise? What projects have you heard of that they've been able to do?
So the clubs for 7 women, yeah. So it's really the scholarship, the 7 scholarships. So that's $1,050. It funds 7 kids to go to school. So there's a few clubs that have just taken on that challenge to actually host a documentary screening in their community to raise that money to fund the scholarships. There's been a lot of hosted screenings, which is awesome. So if I'm around and free, I normally go and speak at them. What else have clubs? So we're taking a Rotary/Rotaract tour over to Nepal at the end of July this year. So that'll be fantastic. Rotary International is also coming on that tour. They're photographer and editor. So they're going to write a story and capture some of the stories to put in the Rotarian. So that's a really exciting opportunity. Yeah. And so we're gonna do, I think, 1 or 2 Rotary tours every year. So a discounted kind of tour specifically for the Rotary network to come over, and it'll be a fundraising trip.
Definitely. And are you a member of Rotary? I know you are a Rotary scholar and studied in Sweden. Are you a member of Rotary?
Yeah, so I did my Rotary Peace Fellowship in Sweden, and that was great. It was 2 years, and then came back and joined the Rotary Club of Melbourne, where I live. So
awesome.
That's a great club. It's a big club, 250 members, and I think they were the first or second in Australia. I should probably know that.
First in Australia.
Oh, first, yeah. So they're quite traditional club, but it's great to be part of that big community in Melbourne, and they get some great guests for kids. So I've been loving being a member. I just arrived back home late last night from a district conference out in the country, and it's called Agnes Waters. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of district conferences this year, regional district conferences. So it's been great to see a bit of the country, Australia. Yeah, so I love meeting all the different Rotarians, and just being part of a network where people share similar values and really want to contribute with their skills.
Definitely. Well, I want to be conscious of your time and everybody else's time on the call. If there are any other questions, let us know. I can also maybe forward them on to Stephanie. But Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. I know it was a little complicated to get on a call with everybody from all over the world here, but I really appreciate the time that you've taken with us. It's been great to learn a little bit more, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to work further with you guys on a project one day, hopefully maybe even the scholarship project. So thank you again. And if you have anything else you'd like to leave us with or thoughts, I'll let you share that before I stop recording.
So that's basically it. Yeah, thanks for having me, and great to meet you guys. And if you ever come to Australia, let me know. Melbourne, especially. And is anyone going to Toronto?
I'm planning to. This is Patty.
Hell yes.
Oh, awesome. That's great. So, yeah, we'll see there, Jeremy, and hopefully Patty as well. But we're doing a documentary screening as part of the Presidential Peace Conference. So I'm speaking to, the next call is with Jennifer Jones, who's the chairing that the Presidential Peace Conference. And yeah, so that'll be really exciting to, she's keen to have a documentary screening there. So if any of you are there, come and attend that. It'll be great.
Awesome. Great. Wonderful.
All right.
Well, I'm going to stop the recording now, and let's